need AI.
Yeah, the AI is do. Yep, we're okay. We're good. Yeah, the AI automatically does it when I sign in, and then I found the buttons, so we're good. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the April meeting of the PRC. First things first, we have regrets from Rob and from Sarah. I didn't hear from Howard, but I think maybe his last message before our last meeting was he'd miss a couple of months, so maybe he just didn't update the regret. So those are the only ones I've received. And so having said that, can I have a motion to approve the agenda as distributed? Andrea, second by Brendan, thank you. Okay, guys. News and announcements. Well, in our last meeting, an election hadn't been called yet, but we knew it was going to be, and obviously it has. So we're in the middle of the election, just under 3 weeks left to go. So again, nothing is happening from a parliamentary point of view or a committee point of view. But having said that, things are going forward. I've got a note down at the bottom about Pierre Poilievre's proposal regarding mandatory minimums. So we'll get to that in a second. So the only other things we have on the news and announcements. So again, there'll be a new prime minister in about 3 weeks. Well, maybe not. There'll be a new government in about 3 weeks. We have nothing. I don't need anything from Peter right now on his brief regarding the Alberta government. And Peter didn't give me a regret, and he's not here. Okay, so we'll do that. I haven't heard anything more about the RCMP. Oh, here's Peter here. Hang on a second. Okay, here he is. Hey, Peter.
Hey, Mouse. My apologies for being a couple minutes late.
No problem. We're just getting to the point in the agenda regarding what we discussed last month, the RCMP's change in role, the position paper that Trudeau was promoting before he stepped down. I don't suppose you've heard anything, and Peter would be the one to ask. I don't suppose you've heard anything more about that.
I haven't heard anything more about the RCMP position paper, although it has been talked about here, obviously locally, just about the impact. But what is interesting is, hot off the press, as of yesterday, was the Alberta government has now got a bill, I believe it's C41, if I remember correctly, or C49. Bill 49, there's no C in front of it. Bill 49 to create an independent police agency as an alternative option for the RCMP, and it just got tabled, and they're creating a new provincial police entity by empowering the province to create a provincial or police crown agency. And so that's actually why I was a couple minutes late. I was just printing this information off so I could bring it forward today. It's got a $60 million budget, and they're looking to hire a new police chief and senior officers to establish the organization. What basically they're doing is they're just ramping up one more time the role and function of the sheriffs in Alberta. They're still not calling it a true provincial police force, and they're saying that the sheriffs are not taking over as the provincial police, but they're very much involved. And all of this has to do with basically the current situation. They've also have beefed up in that bill. Government passed legislation in 2022 to create the commission that will accept and investigate complaints against police officers, except for the RCMP. Essentially, what the new agency will do is replace or absorb the Alberta Serious Incident Response Team, or ACERT as we call it, or the acronym for it, which investigates the police. The new agency will now oversee this. And interestingly enough, I've got two former colleagues that are in the running to head the thing up, so I should be able to find out decent details as things move forward. They want to have the commission ready by December of this year, and they've got $16 million to run the commission starting this year. And so that's where that's at. But in terms of the Trudeau piece, no, there's nothing further that's actually coming out about that. This is sort of off to one side. And again, it's getting some pushback. Well, it's getting pushback politically from the NDP, but basically some people are saying, or the government is saying, If you want the Alberta police to take care of you, then fine, that's good. They'll do that. And if you want the RCMP to continue taking care of you, that's fine. But we don't mind if they do that. You're going to be paying either way. And right now, with the rise in the remunerations for RCMP, it's actually being put back onto the municipalities to pay for that, the additional fee. So that's what's driving most of that.
Thanks, Peter. Brendan has your hands up.
Yeah, I had a few questions, comments on this one. I will just say, as I'm sure we all know, but this is getting close to my work. So nothing I ask or talk about is like the position of the CRCC. This is just me. First of all, Peter, just to confirm, you said Bill 49, it's for investing in police, but not the RCMP, correct?
Yeah, I'm just reading what it says here. It says that they had tabled, it will be for investigating police, save for most RCMP complaints is the terminology that was used. So,
okay, all right,
it's sort of a
okay.
It doesn't mean no RCMP. It just says save for most RCMP.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, interesting. Second thing I wanted to ask about that. So if the bill is proposing to provide oversight to police, are there not, I think I'm a little confused. I mean, are there not local police boards? Is there not something going on with that in Alberta where they want to establish local police boards? And if so, what is the point of the commission like in regard to these local police boards that provide some sort of oversight?
The Police Act specifies that the major municipalities must have police board police commissions, okay? And they use the term commissions. For the smaller municipalities that are currently serviced by the RCMP as provincial police, the provincial police are acting as municipal police, they are now required to also they're beefing up what used to be like the advisory committee for the RCMP, which was a paper tiger. And they're trying to beef that up a little bit more so that it actually is a meaningful commission. As we know, there is no oversight of the RCMP save through the RCMP.
Yeah. And actually that leads me to my next question. So just to clarify, you said $60 million for this commission?
16 million.
16. Okay, sorry. Okay, that makes a little more sense, but still that's
to run the commission this year. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That was those. Thanks for clarifying that, Peter. I guess so on that note, though, this is a question more for the PRC. Does the CCJ, do we have a position on this proposal? And if not, should we have one?
We don't have one. We've talked about it since it's been involved, it's become public. But no, we've never formally taken a position, and we haven't asked anybody to prepare a brief in that regard. But
okay,
certainly something we can do if there's interest.
Yeah. I wonder, I mean, because it comes out on behalf of the CCJ, I'm comfortable. Like, I don't think there's any conflict for me there. But I think that, I mean, the white paper was really, in my opinion, the white paper was very much like I don't know, a mic drop moment. Like it was just an important thing. And I think I'm not surprised that white paper came out. I mean, there's been talks about changing the role of the RCMP for quite some time. I mean, if some of the NCICOP reports mention just that there's not enough money in federal policing, partly because of the contract policing role of the RCMP. So I'm not necessarily surprised it came out. But I think it's such a tremendous shift. And I think I read in an article somewhere recently, it was a remark of Trudeau while he was still in power, saying something along the line that being criticized, well, why did you do this basically on your last day in office? And I think he mentioned something along the lines of, if we break something of this scale, the repercussions are unfathomable, something along those lines. So just talking about an extreme amount of caution in trying to modify something like the RCMP. But I think it's a really important question. And I don't think this is something that is going to be necessarily part of a bill in the next year, in the next 2 years, even in the next government. I don't think it's necessarily going to, maybe in the next government, perhaps. I don't think it will be a bill like quite soon, but nevertheless, I think it might be important and it might be helpful for us to put a position forward. I have my own ideas. I'm not sure what everyone else's ideas are on it, of course. But I could, right now is a bit of a busy time for me, but I should have some time over the summer to maybe put something together with some suggestions that I could bring to the PRC, and then we could all discuss that. How does that sound to everybody?
Brendan, that'd be great. If you're
Sounds
prepared
good.
to do a brief for us on your own time frame and there's no conflict, then please do.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the no conflict mostly arises that because my name won't be on it, I think, and it'll be a group effort. So I think that's where it comes in, and I'm a little safer on that front. Plus, I can always hide behind my academic role.
No, that's great. And, yeah, you do that, and again, it's on your own time frame, but that'd be great. We'd receive it, we'd circulate it, we give you our comments, and when it's ready to go, we'll send it to the board. So that'd be super.
Okay. All right. So I will endeavor to do that, but like I said, it won't be in the next like 2 months or so. I'll likely try to work on it over the coming months. Um, Hopefully to have something maybe for the PRC come September or October.
Yeah, we'll mark it as a waiting
So
item and just leave it on the agenda.
yeah, okay, perfect.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Brendan.
No
Any
problem. My pleasure.
questions or comments for Brendan? Okay, good stuff. Okay, the one news item that I added to the agenda from last month is a news piece article that appeared within the last 2 weeks. Polyev, as a function of his campaign, God knows why he's done this, but he's promoting the prospect of life sentences for serious offenses, primarily dealing with fentanyl. Although I understand that he's also kind of looking at other serious offenses to add to that list for that particular mandatory minimum. I shouldn't say I should be surprised. I mean, it's a conservative justice policy to be tough on crime, and they've always seen mandatory minimum sentences as part of that agenda. And they've always seen them being struck down for the most part by the Supreme Court. But it's interesting that we're talking about life sentences because life sentences, although they've been around for quite a while, I think they were put in place in 1977 in Canada in response to it was one of the arguments to convince Parliament in 76 to rescind capital punishment, that we would in fact put in place something that was as close to a life altering event as death would be life in prison. And so our very first life sentences were put in place to replace the death penalty. And that was the rationale. And it was a big deal at the time. I was in school, so I remember it. I was at university. But having said that, by now proposing to have life sentences for something beyond what is a homicide related crime is a big deal. It didn't get a ton of press, but if that's something that the Conservatives, if they return to power, promote, then that's certainly going to warrant our attention, as a group. Any comments about this or thoughts? Yeah, Brendan.
I have a thought if you can bear to listen to me again. Um, in a situation like this, I mean, obviously we know that this mandatory minimum and tough on crime rhetoric comes up every so often. I mean, in opposition bills, but also when conservatives are in power. I know that the CCJ has a position paper on mandatory minimums and things like that. I mean, in the event that legislation is advanced, whatever party does it, that wants to put forward legislation that mirrors mandatory minimums or anything like that, is there a process whereby, like, I mean, we wouldn't necessarily write a new brief, I think. Is there a process whereby we sort of alert the minister and say, hey, we have this position paper already discussing this issue, essentially forwarding our position papers? Is that something that's done, or does it have to be a new brief?
Well, Irving has the historical memory.
We would have a choice. Um, I recall last time when the Liberals came back in 10 years ago,
we basically prepared, I think it was like a 10-page package, highlighting some of our previous positions and so forth. And we made a lot of noise about the pardon system that was, basically thrown away during the Harper era. And we brought that up, that particular topic, the pardon system. We raised that, I don't know how many occasions, and essentially nothing actually changed uh, over the last 10 years. But should mandatory minimums or any other item that might be of import, I think we would share it with any government that comes, and I think that'd be a good idea, Brendan. And we could of course send it around to the PRC and say, are there areas or elements we'd like to update? We can easily do that, and we could either update the position paper or we cover it in a covering note, something like that would be a good idea, I think.
Well, that's a great segue. I mean, I think and I don't recall this because it was before my time, but reproducing another package of our position on various issues with the new government coming into play, whether it doesn't matter whether it's Carney or Poilievre, that's a good thing.
I think so.
I think so. So if you could find that, Irving, and send it to me, then I'll take a look and dress it up and circulate it.
Sure. You're talking in due course. Is that what you mean?
Well, it's for the edification of the new government. So
our position papers are on the website, are they not? I have to double check. I think so.
I'll have to double check too. But I was just wondering. You mentioned that there was one particular package that was sent when.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I can dig that up.
Yeah. I haven't seen that, so I'd like to see that, and then we can certainly update it and circulate it and approve it and send it to the new government.
Right. But by the way, I mean, I don't get into politics, but I suspect the fentanyl issue is related to the whole tariff argument, eh?
Well, it's supposed to be.
That's where it started, eh? This whole business.
Well, yeah, sure. Trump, in order for Trump to use his executive order powers to do what he's done, he has to base it upon a national emergency, and that's the national emergency. Yeah, it's a manufactured emergency, but he used it, he's done it, and the most recently the Senate, the Democrats and 4 Republicans tried to quash that, but they don't have the power to get it approved. So everybody realizes, including Trump, probably that it's a false position to take, but he's taken it and he doesn't care. So that just probably canceled my chance to get into the U.S. You see those things out loud. Yeah, Peter.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the fentanyl piece actually resonates out here. I think that in one respect that Mr. Poilievre is playing to his conservative base, especially out west here. It's going to solidify that base, definitely. There's anecdotal information says a lot of people think that when you purposefully traffic in fentanyl that's laced with a bunch of stuff, and you know darn well that people are going to die from it, then you're actually, participating in, if nothing more or nothing less than attempted murder, because there's a willingness to traffic in it. There's the result is known as to what could occur, and quite frankly, I would be leaning toward that as well. I do appreciate your comment though about why capital punishment was taken off or hanging was taken off and putting it down to life imprisonment. And I'm trying to remember the name of the kid. He was 14 years old out of Ontario, and he was convicted actually, and just finally came out.
Stephen Truscott.
That's it. Thank you very much. It just came out now, and like it was when he was in jail at the time. That was the time period exactly when capital punishment was re-examined and the termination was taken off the books on his case. Fascinating case too, by the way. And that, by the way, is also, I think, a miscarriage of justice on that one. That being said, there will be a lot of support for that that notion of a life sentence for that type of drug trafficking, and I think I agree with you, Miles, that really that is probably too much, because if we're going to the life sentence was saved for the homicide cases primarily. And so, I think there could be, it should be less than life, but it should definitely be minimum sentence for that type of behaviors and activity. That would be my sense.
If you want a comparative, life sentences for drug trafficking are very, very common in the United States of America.
Yeah.
Thousands of people are doing life for drug trafficking.
Yeah, and of the thousands that are doing life, they've probably taken thousands of lives, if not hundreds, anyways. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that the bad guy isn't just a good guy. So, anyways, but yeah, I just wanted to throw my thought in there. That was all.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. I understand that, but I can tell you that, and I think I'm pretty confident in saying this, that based upon how the Supreme Court has dealt with other mandatory minimums and quashed them as a function of charter breaches against cruel and unusual punishment, I'm pretty sure this would happen to that as well. I have a hard time thinking the Supreme Court of Canada would allow a life sentence to be put in place for anything other than a homicide. So
I agree with you, Miles, on that point.
but we'll see. I mean, it's the Liberals aren't going to propose it. So, Polyev has got to, and the gap is closing in the polls apparently. So it's going to be maybe more of a horse race in 3 weeks than we thought. So who knows? Right? We'll see.
Yeah.
Again, and I said this last time, if the Conservatives are elected, we're going to be very busy. There's going to be a lot of things that we're going to take a position on that we haven't necessarily had in the last 10 years, kind of thing. Okay, the other item, I didn't actually put it on today's agenda, but we did last month only because nothing new has happened, that the Miscarriage of Justice Review Commission, which I mentioned last time, was actually put into place on March the 7th to be operational. So the legislation is operational. Anybody who's applying for an exoneration, which was under formerly 696 of the Criminal Code, now makes an application under the Act. But there's no commission yet, and it's not going to be appointed until there's a new cabinet put back in place. And it's actually supposed to be an independent committee, so we'll see if Parliament does that as well to appoint the commissioners. But that's not going to happen until the infrastructure is put in place, so people can make applications, but they still go to the DOJ, just like the current application does. And so it's kind of an interim kind of thing. But anyway, I didn't put it on the agenda because there's nothing new. But I'll put it back on only because there will be updates to it as we go along. Okay, there's no parliamentary committees to discuss. They're not in place. They will be by our next meeting, I would think, and there may even be a little bit of legislation by our next meeting. So that'll fill out the agenda a bit more. I don't have anything further. Does anybody else have anything you want to discuss? Andrea?
I just have something quickly related to item E there, the deaths in custody. Just a bit of a sneak preview. So that deaths in custody thing had to do with an inquest that was held in Ontario, the Fakari inquest, a while back, and there were 57 recommendations made. Since that time, I think since I've spoken about it, CBC did a documentary called My Brother Soliman. That's available to anyone if you want to look at it or want to watch it. You can just Google it. It's on YouTube and through CBC Gem. But they're also doing, on April the 29th, they're doing a screening in Ontario at CAMH. CAMH is hosting a screening of the CBC documentary, and then there's going to be a live panel afterwards talking about kind of the progress around the inquest recommendations, and I can tell you there's been zero, as well as bringing together kind of health and justice sector folks to talk about mental health and the mental health crisis that's happening within our jails. So just wanted to let you guys know nothing's happening on the Solgen side that we've heard of, but certainly from the family side and from people that were involved in the inquest, trying to actually drum up some news and some information around the lack of progress and the numerous coroner's inquests that are happening here in Ontario. So just some info, and if people are in Ontario, or if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see I'll be posting stuff about the upcoming screening.
Oh, great. Thanks, Andrea. Appreciate that. Any comments or questions for Andrea? All right, guys. Anything else? I've got a couple of minutes left. Anything else before we adjourn to our next meeting? Okay, well, listen, thank you very much. It is short and sweet, but I appreciate everybody accommodating my time frame. We'll be back here on May the 13th there'll be a new government in place, so the activity will start ramping up. So we'll fill out the agenda accordingly. All right, everybody, thank you very much for attending.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Miles.
Miles.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hey, guys.